I'm M. Meena Kumari, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, working in Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. I'm going to handle the subject electromagnetic waves. The subject code is U18PCEC 404. Today we are going to discuss about the topic coordinate system. First, we will see some introduction about coordinate system, and then we are going to discuss about the three coordinate system, that is your Cartesian coordinate system, cylindrical coordinate system, and then spherical coordinate system. What is a coordinate system? So here, coordinate system is used to describe a vector accurately and to express it in terms of the components, directions are necessary. So such directions are represented by using a coordinate system. So what are the various types of coordinate system which are available? So first one will be a Cartesian coordinate system, that is also called as a rectangular coordinate system. Next one will be a cylindrical coordinate system. Third is a spherical coordinate system. Then we have elliptical cylindrical coordinate system, parabolic cylindrical coordinate system, and then conical cylindrical coordinate system. But we will usually analyze the first three coordinate system, because since the complexity of the first three coordinate system will be very less when compared to other three. So basically we will go for a rectangular, cylindrical, and then spherical. So the coordinate systems are often used to specify the position of the point, but they may also used to specify the position of more complex figures such as the lines, planes, circles, or spheres. So the choice of the coordinate system depends upon the person who is solving that problem while they are studying that system. Certain problems are solved easily by using a rectangular coordinate system, whereas certain others will not be much easier when compared to a rectangular coordinate system. So that is the basic coordinate system. So it will be much easier to solve problems or complex problems. So some coordinate systems make more sense and make it easier to describe a system. So coordinate systems gives you a systematic way of naming the point in a space. First, we will discuss about Cartesian coordinate system. So this Cartesian coordinate system is also called as a rectangular coordinate system, and it has three coordinates, namely x, y, and z. And these x, y, and z three coordinate systems, that is three coordinate axes, are mutually perpendicular to each other. That is, we know that mutually perpendicular to each other means they are right angle to each other. Hence, it is called as an orthogonal system. So these three axes intersect at a common point called as the origin O. So there are two types. One is a right-handed system, other one is a left-handed system. So first we will discuss about right-handed system. So see here, these are the three axes. That is your x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And this is your origin O. So in this system, the x-axis is rotated towards your y-axis through a smaller angle theta. So here we are going to rotate, that is we are going to rotate the x-axis towards your y-axis. So automatically it will make an angle theta. Already it is in 90 degree. So now the angle will get varied if we rotate the x-axis towards the y-axis. So this rotation causes the upward movement. So here consider a screw here. Imagine a screw, that if we rotate the screw in an anti-clockwise direction, what will happen? Automatically the screw will move towards in upward direction. So this rotation causes the upward movement of a right-handed screw in z-axis direction. So if the right hand is used, then your thumb will indicate your x-axis, and the forefinger will indicate your y-axis, and the middle finger will indicate your z-axis. So these three are mutually perpendicular to each other. Next, your left-handed system. So in left-handed system, see here the axes have been position have been interchanged. So previously in right-handed system, x-axis is towards here and y-axis is horizontal. So in left-handed system, x-axis is horizontal and y-axis is perpendicular to it. So now we are going to rotation of x-axis into y-axis. So this x-axis is going to be rotated towards your y-axis. So again, imagine a screw here. So now we are rotating in the clockwise direction. So if we rotate in the clockwise direction, immediately the screw will get tightened. That is, the motion of the screw will be in z direction, that will be in downward, that is in a negative z direction. So if the left-handed system in the x-axis is being are interchanged when compared to a right-handed system, and the rotation of the x-axis into the y-axis through a smaller angle, this causes the downward movement in z-axis by the screw. So this is a difference between a left-handed system and then right-handed system. That is, the rotation of the screw will get deferred. Next, we will discuss about the Cartesian system and how we are going to represent a point in the using a Cartesian system. So here consider this is the point P. So this point P is located in the 3 coordinate axis, that is namely x, y and z. This point can be reached from the origin, that by from the distance x in x direction and by the distance y in y direction and from the distance z in z direction. So we can represent this point by x1, y1, z1 because this point lies on all the 3 coordinate axes. So these coordinates can be either in positive or it can be in a negative. Next, if we consider a plane, that is, if we consider x is equal to 0, at x is equal to 0, what we'll have? We will have the values of z and y. Okay, so if x is equal to 0 means then the plane will indicate 2-dimensional and the plane will lie in y and z direction. If y is equal to 0, otherwise this x can be either 0 or the x can have any constant value. If x alone will have the value means then the plane will lie in z and y direction. So if it is x is equal to 0 means the plane will lie in the origin. If x is equal to 1 means the plane will be bit forward, okay, from the origin, that is x is equal to 1. If x is equal to 2 means again it will be x position will be in 2 and again you will have a plane in z and y axis only because we have constant value in x alone. So then if you consider y is equal to constant or y is equal to 0, then the plane will indicate 2-dimensional plane that lies on x and z position. So this is the second diagram shows that when y is equal to constant or y is equal to 0, then your plane will lie on the 2-dimensional plane, that is x and z. Next, we will consider the third axis, that is z is equal to 0 or z is equal to constant. So at that position, the plane will lie indicates a 2-dimensional, but the 2-dimensional plane will be x and y. So if it is z is equal to 0 means that xy plane will lie in your origin, but z is equal to some constant value. So the plane will lie at z is equal to 1 or 2 or 3, whatever the value may be. So the plane will lie on that value in z axis. So see here, if x is equal to 0, we will have the plane like this, that is y is z plane. If y is equal to 0, we will have the plane in x and z plane. If z is equal to 0, we will have x, y plane. So the ranges varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. So similarly for your y axis, and the ranges varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, and similarly for your z axis also, the range is from minus infinity to plus infinity. Next, we have to consider the differential element in the Cartesian system. So first, we already know how to plot a point P in your coordinate system, that is in your Cartesian coordinate system. Now consider a new point P dash. Okay, so this P dash should not lie in the corners of from the point P. The P dash has to be exactly diagonal to the point P. Why it has to be diagonal means then only it will vary in all the 3 coordinate systems, that is 3 axes. Then only it will vary in all the 3 axes. If the point P lies here means, that is the new point P dash lies here means, then it will vary only in a x-axis. It will not vary in a y-axis and z-axis. So the y-axis and z-axis will become constant. Only x will vary. Suppose if the point lies here means, so the y-axis will get changed. That is, then your x-axis and z-axis will be constant. Suppose if your point lies here means then there will be a change in z-axis alone, and then your x-axis and y-axis will remain constant. So that's why we cannot consider the new point P in the corners of your old point P. Okay. So we have to consider the new point P dash, which has to be diagonal to the point. Now we have to find out the differential length, that is DL. DL, which is the distance between the point P and the new dash point P dash. Okay. So now consider the point P which lies in x, y, z axis in the rectangular coordinate system. So if we consider the new point P dash, then automatically there will be a incremental in the all three coordinate axes. So there will be a differential amount will be there. So that new differential amount can be represented by, so the new point P dash will be obtained having the coordinates. The new coordinates will be x plus dx, where dx is nothing but the small incremental in the x-axis because of the point P dash. Similarly, y plus dy. So y is the already lies in the y-axis and dy is your incremental in a y-axis. Then it will be represented as y plus dy. Then it is in z-axis. In z-axis also there is a difference. So it has been got an incremental in z-axis also. So that incremental length is called as dz. So the new axis will be dz plus z plus dz. So the differential length in x direction is dx. The differential is denoted as dx. The differential length in y direction is denoted as dy. And then differential length in z direction is given as dz. So this differential vector length is also called as a elementary vector length. So and it is defined as dl vector is equal to dx into ax vector plus dy into ay vector plus dz into az vector. This is obtained by subtracting p dash minus p, that is p from p dash. So if we subtract these two, that is x plus dx comma y plus dy comma z plus dz has to be subtracted by x comma y comma z. So x will get cancelled, remaining dx only will be there, y will become cancelled and remaining dy will be there, then z will be cancelled, then dz will be there. So the differential vector length is obtained by subtracting p dash minus p. So dx into ax vector plus dy into ay vector plus dz into az vector is a differential vector length. So this vector joining the origin point P to the new point P dash. So now P dash is the intersection of the three new planes, that is slightly placed from the original three planes. So these six planes will define the differential volume, that is called dV, where dV is equal to dx into dy into dz, because volume is nothing but it is a product of length, breadth and then height. Okay, so it will be dx, dy and then dz. So the distance of the point P dash from P is given by, that is modulus of dl is given by root of dx square plus dy square plus dz square. So this is the differential, we have obtained the differential vector length and then differential volume dv and then modulus of your differential length. Then we have to find out what is the differential surface area for your Cartesian coordinate system. So the formula for it to find out the differential surface area is ds vector is equal to ds into an vector. That is your unit vector which is normal to the surface ds. First, if we consider the normal vector to the x-axis, that is in your x-axis, x direction means that unit vector is given as ax vector. So that unit vector will be always normal to the remaining two planes. So the surface area will be obtained from dy and then dz. So when to find out the differential surface area for x-axis, the formula will be differential surface area normal to x-axis. So the surface area is obtained by dy and then dz into ax vector. So then if you find out for your ay vector, there is a differential surface for your ay. So ay will be normal to your y axis will be normal to your x and z. So this will be gives the surface area, that is a differential surface area, dx into dy into ay vector. So this is for a dsy vector. Next for a third axis, that is z axis. So unit vector for the z axis will be in upward direction, that is your az vector. So when there is, this is normal to the plane remaining two axes, that is your dy and then dx. So the surface area for your az is given by the plane dy into dx into az vector. So this is how we will obtain the surface, differential surface area for a Cartesian coordinate system. So now we have discussed about how to plot a point P in the Cartesian coordinate system and how to represent the point P. Then we have to represent the differential length. Then we have find out what is the differential volume. Then we have find out what is the how to calculate the differential surface area for a Cartesian coordinate system. Next, we will move to a cylindrical coordinate system. So here, cylindrical coordinate system also have the three axes, and the three axes are called as a radius. One is radius r, next one is a phi. Phi is called as a azimuthal angle, and the third one is a z-axis. Z-axis denotes the height of the radius. So the circular cylindrical coordinate system has three-dimensional version of a polar coordinate system. This is also called as a polar coordinate system. So the surface used to define the coordinate systems are r. R is nothing but the radius of the cylinder, and its ranges vary from 0 to infinity. And next is here phi. Phi is nothing but your azimuthal angle, where r makes an angle with respect to x. So that angle is called as a phi. So that angle varies from 0 to 2 pi. Next is a z. So z is nothing but the height of the cylinder, which varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. So now if we are going to plot a point P, that is P R phi z axis. Okay. So if we consider the point P here means, then from z axis we will have the radius. We will be calculating the radius from the origin axis, that is a z axis. So this gives the radius of the cylinder. And if we take the projection of the point P here, then if we joins this means, then this angle, that is whatever angle it makes with axis x gives the phi, and this phi is called as a azimuthal angle. Then from this projection to the point P, this gives the height of the cylinder, and that is called as a z1. So the point P can be represented as r1 and then phi1 z1. So this is how we will represent a point P in cylindrical coordinate system. Next up. So again here there are three axes. So if we make one axis as a constant means, then what will be how the other two will be? Okay, how the other two axes will be? Either it will be a line, or either it will be a circle, or either it will be a plane. We have to find out. So here if we make r is equal to constant, that if first axis r is constant means, then it will give us cylindrical structure with z axis as its axis. Next, if we make phi is equal to constant, if phi is equal to constant, the constant plane which is vertical plane perpendicular to your xy axis. It is a vertical plane which will be perpendicular to your xy axis, which makes an angle phi with respect to xz. So when phi is equal to constant, we will get a plane which is vertically perpendicular to x and y axis. So with respect to x and z axis, it makes an angle phi. Next, if z is equal to constant, if the plane z is equal to constant means, then again we will obtain a plane which is parallel to xy plane, Okay. So again we know the ranges varies, that is for r it varies from 0 to infinity, and for pi it varies from 0 to 2 pi, and for z it will varies from minus infinity to plus infinity. So these are the three types of the planes and then cylinder we will obtain when each axis becomes a constant. So when r is equal to constant, we will obtain a cylinder. When phi is equal to constant, we will obtain a plane. When z is equal to constant, we will obtain a plane which is parallel to xy axis. Next, to represent a point P in the cylindrical coordinate system. So, the intersection of any two surfaces out of the above three surfaces, that is above three axes, it will be either a line or it will be a circle. And the intersection of the three surfaces will define the point P. So, if R is equal to constant, we will get a cylinder. Okay, so if it is Z is equal to constant, we will get a plane which is parallel to XY. So the intersection of R is equal to constant and Z is equal to constant will give a cylinder. And the intersection of R is equal to constant and phi is equal to constant will give a straight line. When phi is equal to constant, we will obtain a plane which is vertically perpendicular to X and Y. So the point P is intersecting all the three surfaces as shown here. Next up. So we know that what are the unit vectors. So again here there are three axes. We will have a three unit vectors and the three vectors will be mutually perpendicular to each other. So this AR vector will lies in a plane which is parallel to your XY. So which is parallel to your XY and it is perpendicular to the surface of the cylinder. So this is the surface of the cylinder and it is perpendicular to the surface of the cylinder at the given point which is coming radially outwards. That is always your radius will be radially outward direction. Next the unit vector A phi. See the A phi lies also in the plane which is parallel to your XY plane. So this is also parallel to your XY plane but it is tangential to a plane of a cylinder, surface of a cylinder and pointing in the direction of the increasing phi. See this to A phi, this phi will be keep on increasing. If it is keep on moving means this phi value will be keep on increasing. Then the unit vector AZ. So this AZ is parallel to your Z axis and the direction is always towards increasing Z, that is in your positive axis. So hence the vector of the point P can be represented as PR into AR vector plus P phi into A phi vector plus PZ into AZ vector. So this is the vector of the point P. We are representing in the cylindrical coordinate system. Next, we have to find out what is the differential element in a cylindrical coordinate system. So we know that to identify the point P, we will have P will be represented as P of R, phi, Z. So let each coordinate system has been incremented by the differential amount. So then we will have a differential incremental in all the three axes. So that will be called as dr. So dr is the incremental length in radius r. Then d phi is the incremental differential increment in your phi. And then dz is the incremental length in your z axis. Okay, so there will be two cylinders of radius r and other cylinder will be with the radius of r plus dr. And again two radial planes at initially we had with phi. Now we will have one more plane that is with phi plus d phi. And due to the change in this angle, that exists a differential arc length in a phi direction that is called as a r d phi. And there will be two horizontal planes at the height. One will be is initially z and the next will serve z plus dz, which is due to the differential increment in the height of the second cylinder. So see here, first this is the point P. If we consider this point P, the radius will be r from z axis. And if we take the projection of the point P, it will make an angle phi with respect to x. These are the initial parameters, that is initial coordinate axis of your point P. And next is your z. So this is the height of your initial point z. Now we are going to consider the new point P dash here. Okay. So what happened? This P dash makes a new radius with z. So this will be a incremental radius. So it will be total from z axis to this new point P dash. It will be r plus dr. Okay. So see, this is the incremental. So because this is the initial height of your cylinder. So from here it has been increased to here. That is the height of the cylinder has been increased to here. So that new incremented height will be dz. So the total height of the second cylinder will be Z plus dz. Okay. So the third axis, see here, the third axis will be here r into d phi, because this makes an differential arc length. So the arc length, if we calculate by using a sin theta means, then it will be r into d phi. So these are the initial parameters of the point P. So again there will be a one more incremental arc length when we consider the point P dash. Okay. So dr is called as the differential length in the r direction, and r phi is the differential length in phi direction, and then dz is the differential length in your z direction. So the differential length from the point to point P dash is given by dl. So dl will be P dash minus P. So it will be obtained, the final equation obtained is dr into ar vector plus r into d phi into a phi vector plus dz into az vector. So if you take the modulus of your differential length means, then it will be obtained as modulus of dl is equal to root of dr square plus r into d phi square plus dz square. Then again we have to calculate what is the differential volume. So differential volume here is product of three axes. So that will be r into dr into d phi into dz. So this is how we obtained the differential length and then differential volume. Next we will see about your differential surface area for a cylindrical coordinate system. So first, if we take the r direction as a unit vector. So if you take r direction as the unit vector means, where this is your r direction. So this plane will be perpendicular to this surface, that is your dz and your r into d phi surface. Okay. So that is we have separately shown here. So the ar vector will be perpendicular, that is normal to your two surfaces, that is dz and then r into d phi. So for dsr vector, that is the differential surface for your r, the formula will be r into d phi into dz into unit vector ar vector. Next we have to consider for your phi vector. So for phi vector, see this is your phi. So the phi will be the phi will be radiating outwards. Okay, so this a phi will be, this unit vector a phi will be perpendicular to your dr and then dz, the surface dr and then dz. So the surface area is given by the product of dz and then dr into the unit normal vector a phi vector. Next, their third, that is your z-axis. So your differential surface area for your z-axis is given by, you have to consider the unit normal vector to the z direction. So that will move upwards. So it will have this plane, that is your r into d phi and then dr. This is your radius, right? So dr into r into d phi. So the surface area for the z-axis is given as the product of your dr into r into d phi into az, unit normal vector of your z direction. So this is how we have to calculate the differential surface area for a cylindrical coordinate system. Next, we will see the relationship between a Cartesian and then cylindrical coordinate system. So this is the point P, which we can plot it in by using a Cartesian coordinate system, that is x, y, z, and then cylindrical coordinate system r by z. So in terms of, if you having a Cartesian coordinate system, we have to convert into cylindrical coordinate system means the formula will be x is equal to r into cos phi and then y is equal to r into sin phi and z will be equal to z itself. So see here, first we need the value of r. What we need to find the value of r. So we have x. X is equal to, consider this triangle. Okay, so from this we can calculate what is the value of your r. R is nothing but opposite side by hypotenuse. So what is the opposite side? That is cos phi is equal to r divided by x. So from this we can obtain what is x. X is equal to r into cos theta. So similarly for y. So if we obtained y means it will be, sorry, this is adjacent by hypotenuse and this is by opposite by hypotenuse. So it will be r into sin theta divided by y. Okay, so this will be y is equal to r into sin phi. and then z will be equal to z itself. Then next, if we have in cylindrical coordinate system, under that we have to convert into a Cartesian coordinate system, means the formula will be r is equal to root of x square plus y square, and then your phi can be calculated as tan inverse of y by x, and next is z will be equal to z. So by considering this triangle, it will be root of x square plus y square, and this will be tan inverse of y by x, and then third coordinate system z will be equal to z. So this is the relationship between a Cartesian coordinate system and then cylindrical coordinate system. So problems may be asked by giving any one of the coordinate system, and they will ask you to convert the to other coordinate system. So this is the formula you have to use for that. And next we will see about a cylindrical coordinate system. So the surface which are used to define the spherical coordinate system on the three axes are, first one is a sphere of the radius r, that is the sphere of the radius r from the origin at the center of the sphere. And next is a right circular cone with the apex at the origin O and its axis as z axis, and it makes an angle theta and it rotates about z axis, and this theta varies from 0 to 180 degree. So this rotates about a z axis. And next will be a half plane which is perpendicular to xy plane containing your z axis, making an angle phi with respect to x and z plane. So thus the three coordinate systems of the point P in the spherical coordinate systems are r, theta and then phi. So the r ranges from 0 to infinity, and then phi varies from 0 to 2 pi, and theta varies from 0 to pi as a half angle. So this is the sphere of the radius r with from the center, that is as the center as the origin. And this is the rectangular cone with the apex at the origin. And next this is the half plane which is perpendicular to your x and y. So these are the three coordinate systems which we use in a spherical coordinate system. Next, to represent a point P in the spherical coordinate system. So this is your point P. So first, what is your first coordinate? That is r, the radius of the sphere. So the radius of the sphere can be calculated from the origin. So this is your r. Next is your theta. This radius makes an angle theta with respect to zeta. Next is, if we project the point P, then this point P which makes an angle with respect to x gives us the phi. This phi is their azimuthal angle. So the point P can be defined as the intersection of the three surfaces in the spherical coordinate system, that r is equal to constant with the sphere and center as the origin, and theta is equal to constant with the right circular cone with the apex and its axis is z axis, and again phi which is the constant is the plane perpendicular to the xy plane. So these surfaces are shown in this diagram, and the intersection of the sphere, that is r is equal to constant surface and then right circular cone, and then theta is equal to constant means the surface is the horizontal circle. So that is we will see in next slide. So see here, if r is equal to constant means we will have a circle, and if theta is equal to constant means we will have a cone. If phi is equal to constant means we will have a plane which is vertically perpendicular to x and y. Okay. So the intersection of the two surfaces will be a horizontal circle. Next we will see about your unit vectors. So as three axes will have a unit vector, these three axes will be mutually perpendicular to each other. So the three unit vectors are r, theta and then phi, and which denotes us, the unit vector denoted as ar vector, a phi vector and then a theta vector. So these unit vectors will be mutually perpendicular to each other, and then unit vector ar is directed from the center of the sphere. That is, ar is directed from the center of the sphere, and that is the origin is point is given from P, and it is directed radially outwards, that is normal to the sphere, and it lies in the cone, that is theta is equal to constant and phi is equal to constant when we consider the unit vector ar. Next up. So the unit vector A theta will be, this is A theta will be tangent to the sphere and oriented in the direction of the increasing theta. So it is normal to the conical surface. And the third unit vector, that is A phi, is tangent to the sphere and also tangent to the conical surface, and it is oriented in the direction of increasing phi. Okay, so it is same as dependent in the cylindrical coordinate system. So hence the vector position is given by P into P vector is equal to PR into AR vector plus P theta into A theta vector plus P phi into A phi vector. So where we know that PR is the radius with the P with the radius R, and then P theta and then P phi are the two angle components of the point P. So this is the position vector of the point P. So PR into AR vector plus P theta into A theta vector plus P phi into A phi vector. So see here. So this is the point P and then incremented length. So this is the surface. If we consider R is only changing and remaining two are constant. That is, if R is the radius is only changing and phi and theta are constant, means we will obtain this plane. Okay. Then if theta is changes and then R and phi are constant, means we will obtain this plane. And if R is constant and then theta is constant and then phi varies, means we will obtain this plane. So here all the three will be a planes. The differential lengths are given by dr is equal to differential length in your r direction, and then dr theta will be the differential length in your theta direction, and r sin theta into d phi is the differential length in your phi direction. So the differential length is given by dr into ar vector plus r into d theta into a theta vector plus r into sin theta into d phi into a phi vector. And next is the modulus of your dl vector. So the modulus is given as root of dr vector plus r into d theta square plus r into sin theta into d phi square. And the volume is given by, that is the differential volume is given by dv is equal to r square into sin theta into dr into d phi into d theta. So this is the differential volume for your spherical coordinate system. So next we have to find out what is the differential vector surface area for a spherical coordinate system. So first we will consider here r vector, that is here r axis. So the differential vector surface area normal to the r direction will be given by r into, that is r into d theta into r into sin theta into d phi. Then the unit vector will be perpendicular normal to the plane, that is r into d phi and then r into sin theta. So the resultant surface area will be r into r, that is r square into sin theta into d phi into d theta. So this is the formula to find out the surface area which is normal to a r direction. So then the surface area which is normal to a theta direction. So the formula is given by, if the theta direction will be normal to the two planes, that is dr and then r into sin theta into d phi. So here the surface area is given by r into dr into sin theta into d phi into a theta vector. So this is the surface area normal to a direction d theta direction. Next is a phi direction, that is differential vector surface area normal to a phi direction, and this unit vector will be normal to the plane dr and then r into d theta. So this formula for your surface area in theta phi direction will be given as r into dr into d phi. Next one, that is the relationship between a cylindrical coordinate system and then Cartesian coordinate system and a spherical coordinate system. So if the given system is in rectangular, that is a Cartesian coordinate system, means we can convert that into a spherical coordinate system by using the formula x is equal to r into sin theta into cos phi, and then if y is equal to r into sin theta into sin phi, and z is equal to r into cos theta. So So by using this formula, we can find out the spherical coordinate system when the system is given in a Cartesian coordinate system. So then if the system is given in a spherical coordinate system means we can convert the system into a Cartesian coordinate system by using the formula R is equal to root of x square plus y square plus z square, and then theta value can be obtained by cos inverse of z divided by root of x square plus y square plus z square, because that is a hypotenuse. And then phi can be obtained by tan inverse of y by x, which is with the same method which we applied to find out for a cylindrical coordinate system. Thank you.